Cellars Wine Wednesday. My name is Lee Schlesinger. I am your host every Wednesday and Saturday. And today we are coming at you live from Chicago, where I work as Vice President in charge of portfolio management and wine education. Today we have a superstar guest with us. Before we get to the guest, I want to say a little preamble about kind of the history with this winery. So in the mid-90s, Yale, the owner of our company, Yale Sager, and Adam Sager were traveling around, and they would visit with different wine fairs across the world. They met an enthusiastic man who owned a winery in Argentina called Santa Julia, Jose Alberto Zuccardi, second generation. They immediately bonded with the same level of passion, and fortunately we were ahead of the curve with Argentine wine, which at the time in the mid-90s, 96 is I think when wine cellars started importing the brand. We're able to see that Argentina is a large producer of wine and has great quality potential. But because they are such incredible consumers of wine, didn't export much at all. We were able to fortunately work with a family, the Zuccardi family, that also had a vision for Argentine wine well beyond what it was defined as at the time, certainly beyond domestic consumption, and I think probably beyond what Jose Alberto had planned for the winery. So that being said, what we're going to taste today are wines from Santa Julia. Santa Julia has three ranges, a plus range, an organic range, and what we're going to taste today, the reserve range. So who is our superstar guest? None other than the namesake for the winery itself, Julia Zuccardi. Joining us from Argentina. Buenos dias.
Buenas noches. Good
Buenas
night.
noches. Sí,
It's 8 p.m. here. How are you?
I am well, and we have smoothed out our operational difficulties, and we are ready to,
We're ready to start.
we are ready to chat. So tell us a little bit about I think people want to know about you and then your position in the family and how that all came to be and what you're doing these days. So let's get a little background on Julie.
Good. A little bit of history. As you said, we are a family-owned company. My grandfather was the one who started in the early 1960s. 1963 exactly. He came from the north of Argentina, and he was developing an irrigation system because he didn't know anything about wines at that time. But then he came to Mendoza. We are located in Mendoza, and Mendoza is in the center west of Argentina, next to the border with Chile, and we are a wine producing region. So he came here to try this irrigation system, and he got in love with wine growing, and that's how the family history started. Today,
and that was in the early 1960s, right?
1960s, yes. Today, I'm part of the third generation. My father runs the company, and me and my two brothers work all together at the company. I do all the hospitality. I'm in charge of the restaurants and all the visitor centers. Sebastian, my eldest brother, is a winemaker. And the youngest one, Miguel, was the one who started producing olive oils. So we are all involved in the company, but in different areas.
We have some pictures here, so let's pull up some pictures of the family. So
Sure.
We've actually had Sebastian on before, so we're familiar with Sebastian. We've probably looked at this family picture a few times. So
there we are. Yes.
There you go, Miguel, all the way on the far right. Your father, Jose, who I mentioned in the middle. Obviously, you, and then Sebastian.
That's right. Yeah. So we, as I said, we are a family-owned company, and we are all involved in the operation. Well, in the early 1990s, my dad created the brand Santa Julia after me. I was around 10 years old. So, of course, at the beginning, I didn't realize what was going to happen. But today, it's really an honor and a big responsibility to be the name of the brand.
Yeah, you've got a lot to live up to with the name Santa Julia.
Yes, it's a big responsibility.
But you know what that winery represents. We're going to talk about sustainability and kind of ethical, moral compass and a holistic approach to doing business. And I think the name and lives up to what you're trying to do.
Yes, sure. The brand, it's a young winery. We have only some years, but we've been always very much focused on the sustainability and on organic production. For you to know, well, Argentina is the 5th world wine producer, and 70% of the wine production is made in Mendoza. That is the shape of Mendoza, what you see there. In Santa Julia, we have vineyards in different parts of the province, in different parts of Mendoza. 3 parts exactly. One is called Maipú, the other one is called Santa Rosa, and also in the Uco Valley, which is more to the south of Mendoza.
Yeah, I think we've got some pictures there. So there's Maipú.
You have some pictures there of Finca Maipú and then of Santa Rosa. Yeah, and 300 of our hectares are organic certified.
Yeah, and converting that into acres, it's about 2.5 times. So you have 440 or so acres in Finca Maipú, almost 480 in Santa Rosa, and then in Valle de Uco.
Not yet, but we are working on that. It takes a while to certify. But we are the biggest Argentinian wine producer, the biggest organic producer in Argentina. Yeah. And our biggest market actually is the US for organic wines.
Yeah, we do pretty well with the wines. The quality is great. People are interested in organics. The price point is unbeatable. So what's there not to like?
Yeah, and you really value what an organic wine is about. So it's a nice market to share what we like to do and the way we like to do it. Because you look for that kind of wines and you value what's behind an organic product.
Yeah, I think before we jump into what we're about and we talk about sustainability, we should say hi to some people that are on board watching at home. We have a friend from Georgia, Mr. David.
Hi, David.
Hola, David.
Hola.
We have the amazing Val, who says amazing.
Hi, Val. Nice to see you.
Hi, Val. And a former wine sellers family member, Mr. Charles Butler,
wow.
current wine industry friend. He's probably waving at us from Denver. And then
awesome.
We have fellow winery Mongrave.
Hey, hi.
Best wines from Argentina and by far the nicest people.
Thank you.
Well, I don't know anybody that's met you or tasted the wines that would disagree.
Thank you, Lee.
And Chelsea. Hola, Julia.
Hola, Chelsea.
Another friend from California waving in. So let's get to the core and the essence of what Santa Julia is. And let's talk about what your commitment to, it's not just the environment, but it's the people, it's business practices. It's a really holistic look at it. So one more hi from Tommy before we head on over to
Hi, Tommy.
So let's take a look at what we got for our presentation. We'll add it back in here. And bear with me one second. You'd think after all this time I would be a little more handy with it. So let's see what we're all about. So
So Santa Julia has 4 main values, which are first, making top quality wines. Santa Julia has a big range of wines, wines for every day, more complex wines, but in everything we do, we care about the quality. It has to be high quality wines. That's one of the values. The next value is about innovation. We are very concerned about doing innovative things and always trying something new in what we do, something different. An example, there you can see a nursery. We brought many years ago 35 different varietals from all over the world. So in the Santa Julia range, you are able to try varietals that are non-traditional, not only Malbec. Everybody knows Argentina for Malbec, but we try to show our consumers that there's more than Malbec in Argentina. So that's something we've been very focused on.
I used to call Santa Julia the United Nations of grape varieties. I remember walking through your pilot winery where you experiment with different varieties in small plots and then decide whether or not to continue or graft over new varieties. And as a student of wine, I was learning new varieties every time I walked in that door. So yeah, definitely innovative. You guys were some of the first people to commercialize Pinot Grigio. I think some Viognier, where you guys were early adopters on that. And now you've got things like Ensalota, Caladoc, all sorts of crazy fun varieties that you would never find there otherwise.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's kind of in the blood, in the family. My grandfather, as I said, he came to Mendoza. He was developing a new irrigation system. Innovation was always it's been always in the family. He started innovating, then he got in love with winemaking, but it's been always on every process. Innovation has been present.
Yeah, I think it's hard not to tie together innovation with quality. How do you get better quality without becoming more innovative and trying new things and moving forward? So I think those two things go hand in hand there.
Definitely, yes. And what I didn't say is that these 4 values I'm going to mention, the ones I mentioned before and the ones coming, when we take a decision or when we decide to prove something new or to release a new product, always they have to be in line with the 4 values. Not only one, but the 4 have to be present in some way in all the process. So it's very important for us. And it's easy because it makes you it's clear, everything you think about has to do with these 4 goals, and then it's always easy to decide and to go on with our philosophy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So the next one is the environment, what we mentioned before. Everything has to be in harmony with the environment. We'll see later, but there are many small things we do in order to care for the environment and in order to be sustainable. Not only the organic vineyards, but we use natural fertilizers. We plant green grasses. We keep native flora and fauna. We are very much concerned about energy consumption. So there are many small things in all the wine process, from the vineyard to the winery, that have to be in line with the environment. And the last one is the community and the people. My grandfather always said that you cannot make good wine without good people. Wine is a kind of a very artisan, how would you say?
Artisan
product. Even if it is a big winery, people in the process is very important.
Yeah, your brother likes to mention that people are part of the terroir. That people
definitely.
That work and manipulate the land are part of the terroir. So why not treat them as well as you treat the environment? and they are one of your greatest resources.
Yes, of course. And we've been working on this for many years, especially my grandmother. She was the one who really started with these programs for the community and for our workers. And it's interesting because you really see the results. She started many years ago doing cultural centers in the different vineyards. Some of our vineyards are in the middle of nowhere. People have a few facilities around, and what we try to do is give them a better quality of life, which results in a better worker. We see the results. It's easy. So we care about health, education, and well, giving a place for the community to develop.
Economic development as well.
Yes. So, well, you see in the presentation, the photo is of the daycare we have in the different vineyards, daycare for the children of our workers. So it's perfect. You can see my boy in the photo. He also attends the daycare. So yes, my grandmother left a big something big here, because working with people is a big challenge. But really, if you care for them, you see it in the results.
Yeah, I think a great example of what we're talking about here, I'm going to take down the presentation because we have some fun stuff to show. But I think a great example is, I remember early on, we were talking about the family that worked the Q vineyards, and how many generations of the same family have worked some of the same pieces of land over years, decades.
Yeah. We have lots of families that have been working with us for years, and it's a generation after generation, and they feel at home. And it's amazing because we are a family-owned company, and that's part of the DNA.
Yeah, I also tell people it's a family-owned company that's run like a family, and everybody's treated like a family. For good.
That's the spirit. Yes. We are 800 people, so a big family.
Wow. Well, the end result of all this great stuff is some really great wine. Before we keep going, maybe we can taste a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So we're going to have 3 wines today, all in the reserve range and all red wines. And what kind of delineates the reserve range for us is that reserve, unlike other places in the world, actually has now a definition in Argentina, unlike maybe next door in Chile or here in the US, where we just put it on a label and it's supposed to mean whatever the winery thinks it's supposed to mean.
Mm-hmm.
At least in Argentina now, we have it codified that it's a wine that's been held at least a year before being released. And these wines all see at least 10 months in partial oak, second and third use oak. And the other thing that sets apart the reserve wines for us is the fact that they're all from the Uco Valley.
Yes, they are all from the Uco Valley. Yes.
And kind of what's fun about that is those higher elevations. We got real geeky when we were talking to your brother Sebastian about what the Uco Valley means, but the short of it is those cooler temperatures allow for longer hang times, which allow for the development of colors and flavors that are super evident in the very flavorful wines. Great balance to them, great extract, and what we call polyphenolic development to them. So we'll take a look at, and we'll taste. I want to taste the Malbec, and then I think I want to taste the Malbec, the Mountain Blend, and see what a little bit of Cabernet Franc does to the wine. So anybody tasting at home, let's try a little bit of the Malbec, and tell us your impressions of what you think about Malbec in general, maybe, and maybe then specifically about this one.
Well, Malbec, it's Argentina. It's fruit, it's complexity, it's especially from the Uco Valley. But I think it has a lot of character, like we do in Argentina. So it's a good representation of the country. I think it's a very fruity, nice color, intense colors.
I tell people that I do a lot of blind tasting again as a student of wine, and I always tell people there's a tell, meaning when you play poker and you know what somebody's doing, there's an easy tell without on Malbec from Argentina is it's very dark opaque color, and then
Yes.
it has this for me a magenta, a very violet magenta rim.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I can almost see the wine. And if somebody said, "I'll line up a bunch of different wines and tell me which one the Malbec is," I can just look at it and tell you that this is Malbec, and this color is no doubt deep Malbec color.
It's deep, it's beautiful, it's intense. And I think it's the same on the nose. You'll see a lot of fruits. Well, it's what you said about the Uco Valley. The Uco Valley gives it that intensity and that fruity flavors.
Yeah.
Perfect for a barbecue.
Perfect for barbecue. It has like a little leathery component almost to it, but the freshness of the plum fruit with blackberry and maybe some black cherry in there, but this really big plum, juicy boysenberry flavor for me. And a touch
is a good word.
And a little touch of spice at the end. I think that's a combination of Malbec and some oak treatment there.
Yeah, subtle, but it's there.
And we didn't mention that the wines, all the wines that we'll taste are sub $15 wines, probably closer to about 13. So really affordable wines. So your Tuesday night barbecue, you're able to pull these out without worrying about it.
That's a good characteristic of Santa Julia. It's good value wines. So the quality is good, but the price it's also very convenient. So that's a
look at what Valerie beat us to the punch. Best Malbec in this price category. Amazing value, layers of flavor and texture. I don't disagree with her, though. We're both paid to say that. Some other guy's hanging out with us here. He's on vacation. You can see the surfboard.
Hey, David.
Mr. Cobley. Hi, Cobley. Thanks for joining. So, really delicious, full-bodied. If you're looking for something juicy but also complex, we really find it here in this Malbec. A perfect example of this. And I think when people have in their mind what they expect from Malbec, I think this delivers right on those promises. Really upfront, juicy fruit, but nice complexity and great balance too. We talk structurally about balance. A little bit of tannin, but fresh acidity too.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's get back to the presentation, and we'll see. We have some cool videos, and we want to take people to. It's fun hanging out with us, but let's see if we can get some images of what you're doing down there, and take us to Argentina.
Excellent.
So here's a cool slide that you guys were able to make. It says respect and care for our environment. Yep. In constant innovation.
Constant innovation, yes.
So here's about a dozen points, and maybe we talked about the nursery. So I think we have some videos that are associated to this that I think should play nicely for us.
Good, great.
So here's a picture of the vine nursery, and let's see if we can get it to play. So look at the nursery. I think I remember that early on that, a lot of, like many countries, when vines come into the country, they're quarantined, and frequently there are specific organizations that do this,
yes.
Specific companies, and the quality sometimes that you get from these companies, at least you guys were finding success rates of grafting them on wasn't as high as you wanted them to be. So you said, forget these other companies. We want to do it ourselves. So that's, I think, the origins of the nursery, that you wanted to get vines, treat them the way you wanted to have them treated, and introduce them into the country this way.
Yeah, and actually today, all those vines, we use them, and we also are on sale for other producers to get them. So it's become big.
So it's a whole other company for you guys.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, another activity.
So let's see what we have here on responsible production. So you can speak to some of these images here.
Yeah, that's what I was telling about energy consumption, that we use our own waste for the fuel. And there, well, you can see the picture of the barrels room and the tanks.
Yeah, one of the cool things that you guys do, obviously, when you walk into different parts of the winery, you have automatic on-off lights.
Yes.
But some of the motors even had some energy reclamation, right? So there was smart energy being used even indoors in other mechanical devices.
Yes, we also have solar panels in other areas of the winery. So yes, energy consumption is a big thing, and we proved to reduce the consumption in big amounts.
And we'll get to some composting, but everything that you use there, including water, is recycled or reused.
Yeah, we have a water treatment place.
Yeah, I think we have, here's some, that's waste sorting, water treatment. Here, let's just jump over here to talk about some water treatment. So look at the size of the facility that you guys have. I think
that is in the Maipú vineyard.
Most people haven't been to Argentina, but if you haven't been or you're not familiar with where you guys are, you're in the desert, which means defined by less than 10 inches of rain a year, which means that without irrigation, nothing grows. So water is extremely precious. And when you think about it, the winery was really started by your grandfather based upon the need for finding irrigation.
True. Yes. So we irrigate our vineyards, part from the water that comes from the mountain, but the other part is from the water treatment. So we, as you said, it's a pressure resource, and we really need to take care of it. So it's all about a process to get the water and use it again. So it goes to the different pools, or how would you call it?
Yeah, they're different.
And it goes treating the water until it's clear again and it's able to be reused.
Yeah, I don't know how many people also know that the vines not only take a lot of water, but a winery requires a use of a lot of water too.
Yes. Yes.
I was in my days, not that we're here to talk about me, but I worked at a brewery and I've worked at wineries. Actually, I've worked at Zuccardi Winery. Although your brother may disagree that I was there, but I may not have worked. My past is in breweries, working production mostly, and I was astounded how much water we had to use. And you guys have gotten smarter about how you use water, certainly, than when I was a brewer. And lots of cool equipment that we won't get into today. That O3 machine was something that I had never seen before. So some cool machinery. Let's taste the Mountain Blend and say hi to some folks here while we're doing so. So this guy is Santa Julia Reserva Mountain Blend. And obviously everything that you guys are making, certainly in the Uco Valley, is all defined by the mountains, sure. And this blend is a blend, and it stayed the same, which is 70% Malbec with 30% Cabernet Franc.
Yes.
And
it's an interesting blend. It's an interesting combination, I think. We talked about the Malbec already, so it has all the fruitness and all the juiciness of the Malbec, and then we get some spice from the Cabernet Franc and some other complexity from the Cabernet Franc. It's a very interesting variety.
For me, what it does is it takes some of the juiciness. The Malbec is so juicy and so expressive that this makes the wine a little bit more elegant, I think.
It does, yes.
It gives some restraint to the wine, makes it a little less juicy and a little more complex. I get these kind of forest floor notes, maybe like dried leaves, very typical for Cabernet Franc. But structurally, I find
tomato.
Yeah, a little tomato leaf, a little herbaceous maybe,
Mm-hmm.
along those
Mm-hmm.
lines for sure. But I love the complexity. Too much of it, I would say I want more Malbec, and not enough of it, I would say I don't get enough. I just taste like the Malbec. So it's a really interesting blend that's right at 70-30 that's been held there since it came out 4 years ago, maybe.
Yes, yeah, it's quite new. It's yeah, 4 or no more than that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
I think it's a nice representation of the Uco Valley today, and especially Santa Julia in the Uco Valley. What we can do over there, always keeping the spirit of Santa Julia.
yeah, and more and more, I see more and more Cabernet Franc as not just a blending component, but monovarietal too.
Yes, yeah, it's becoming something bigger, even in the domestic market. Some years ago, you wouldn't listen about it, and today it's kind of everywhere. So it's growing.
Yeah, your brother said that the potential for this variety in the Uco Valley may be greater than the potential for Cabernet Sauvignon.
That's what they say. I think it's kind of taking over the how would you say, the protagonism.
Yeah, the
I mean,
predominance of Cabernet.
yeah, people are talking more about it than the Cab Sauvignon. So I don't know. Sebastian is confident about it.
Yeah, well, they're really, it's really fun to taste the different expressions. So here it's perfect with the Malbec, and definitely gives me the Uco Valley for sure.
Thanks. Yes.
So we talked about some food pairings. You work in the restaurants. What are some of your favorite food pairings?
I'm a big white drinker. I love the torrontés. I would say a torrontés with a nice empanada. It's a perfect match.
Mm-hmm. Very.
But
It's like you're from Salta, right? Isn't that what they do up in the north? They pair it with.
they do, but we have very nice torrontés in Mendoza as well.
For
Yes.
sure. I just meant that the pairing with the empanadas.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a nice match. And then this wine, well, of course, with the beef, also perfect. Or probably with a nice pasta, heavy with a nice sauce, could be a nice combination.
That's what we're doing tonight. We're having
Very
chicken.
Italian.
We're having chicken cacciatore.
Ah, nice.
Yeah, you know chicken cacciatore?
I've heard of it, never tried it.
So with Father's Day coming up, my cheesy father's joke,
Oh,
and
yeah.
this may be a little hard for you, but chicken cacciatore is George Washington's favorite dish.
Okay.
Chicken cacciatore. I'll explain it to you later. Tory.
What's a Tory?
It's a British soldier.
Okay. Okay.
4th of July and Father's Day jokes. So we've got some other folks here saying hi, and I think that they have some good stuff to say that we haven't talked about. Mr. Keith Livingston, a wine cellar's family member living down in Houston, says
Hi,
in big scores. So we've got
we are proud of it.
90, 91 from the Wine Advocate on most of these, as well as from James Suckling, which is really, really pretty interesting for wines of the $13 to $15 price point. So the major press agrees with us as well.
Yeah, we are very proud of it, and of course we don't work for the scores, but they help.
It doesn't hurt.
Good price. It doesn't hurt at all.
So let's go back and take a look before we taste the Cabernet. Let's go back and take a look at some of this other sustainability, because there's so much here, and there's some good stuff that will kind of tell us a little bit more about what we're doing. We saw where the child care center, but you also have an educational center.
We do. We have places in both vineyards for kids to there are teachers who help kids for their school. They go to school, but then they have classes, support classes, we call them. So they have a place where they can be helped for their how would you say, their
homework, tutoring.
Their homework, yes.
Yeah.
And we also have education for adults. A lot of people who work with us haven't had the chance to finish their secondary education, their secondary schools. So some years ago, we made an agreement with the government, with the local government. So we have schools for adults inside the vineyards. Today, we have more than 60 adults doing their second year of secondary education. So it's very interesting because a lot of people who didn't have the chance to finish at that time, they do have the chance to finish now, and they are encouraged to follow with a university degree. So it's interesting. When we started, they had to study after work, and we realized it was very hard for them because usually they have long working hours and then they needed to go back home. So last year we changed the system, and they can study, they can attend classes during working hours. So now it's changed a lot. They are very committed to that, and as I said, it's excellent for them, and it's good for us to have people who are educated.
Yeah.
So it's all the education programs are for children, but also for adults.
That's great. And then, of course, fit minds. We also want to talk about fit bodies, of course.
Of course. The same in the vineyards, we have gyms that are open for our people. And everything we do, I don't know if I said it, it's open for the people who work with us, but also for the community. That's our commitment. So it's not only for the workers, but if you live around the winery and you want to use the gym, you are allowed to use it.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So it is, yeah. So it's interesting. People really appreciate these kind of things, and they give it back at their jobs.
Yeah, you've got to be valued members of your society beyond your employees. That's and here's another thing that you're doing with employees before we move on to some other aspects. There's some economic development.
Oh, that is very nice. My grandmother came up with this idea like more than 5 years ago. She built sewing workshops. We got all the machinery, and we invited women, especially wives of the people who work with us, to join us and to learn a new profession. So we gave them the place, all equipped. We gave them the training. And today we have in Santa Rosa and in Maipú 2 groups of women who have learned a new profession, who work, sometimes they do our uniforms or they sew something for the company, but they also have other customers. So today they have an extra income for their families and a new profession.
That's great. And you can do everything from promotional items for Santa Julia to mass.
Yeah, it's very convenient.
Yeah.
It is. It's good for them and it's good for us. It's very interesting. So people really appreciate this.
That's what we call in the United States a win-win, where
win-win, right? 2
sides. It's not a. It's both sides can benefit. So
yeah.
And then Charlie Masters chiming in here. He says, "Healthy wines, body and mind. I absolutely adore this magical wine family. Brilliant wine." So
thank you.
I made it rhyme for you, Charlie. And then, of course, you have healthcare for all your workers.
Yeah, we have doctors that work permanently on the company, and we've been able with this to detect some chronic problems on the people and on the children, especially the people who live in the countryside, So it's been interesting because we've been doing like a close process with them, and we've been able to help them improve their quality of life.
Wow, that is one universal holistic approach to people. We didn't touch on this, which kind of will move into kind of the business practices as well. And it doesn't mean it's not really widespread here in the USA, but Beer for Life is a certification that is global, with literally thousands, probably tens of thousands, if not 100,000 companies involved in it, that talks about the supply chain and fair trade, meaning fair prices, fair wages, all the way through that supply chain. So fair business practices. Can you speak to that a little bit too?
Yeah, we were actually the first winery in Argentina to get that certification. As you said, they look into a lot of items for you to certify: fair prices, fair salaries, fair treatment with women and men, a lot of things. And once you get it, 4% of the price of the wine goes to a special committee in the winery, and they have to use it for social purposes. So they get back this money. And what is interesting is that it's like a circle, because they get the money, but it's not that they can use it for whatever. They need to use it for a social purpose, and it has to be for the community. So they meet and they decide what they want to do with this money. For example, they've been able to help the healthcare, how would you call it? It's like small hospitals, but in rural areas. So they've been able to help them. They help with all the tools for the kids for school. So they go on and decide different actions to do, but it's interesting because it gives people who have a lot of needs, they put them to think about social needs. So it's good. I think it's encouraging. And a lot of people also, when they buy a product and they see the Fair for Life certification, they really choose them because of that.
Yeah, it's another reason to pick up a bottle of Santa Julia. We're not importing a lot of fair trade wines from you guys, but you still do these practices, and it's essential and I think core to your motto and your pillars, right? But I do want to. This is the back of a label I wanted to mention here, called El Burro, and there's a fun story behind it. But here in the United States, like England and other parts of the world, natural wine has become very popular. And natural wine is wine with very little intervention from man. So natural wine, meaning almost in its natural state, very little manipulation, very little additives. And there's definitions for it, but people that know natural wines will be familiar with that. That's a whole other topic. But we recently landed some of this wine called El Burro, which is a premium natural wine made from Malbec. That is it's one of the better natural wines, very, very well made, super clean, and coming to a store hopefully near you soon. So people should keep an eye out for this natural wine coming from Santa Julia. So another example of you guys working in harmony with the environment to produce wines.
Yes, definitely. It's our first natural wine. As you said, it's coming there. It was released in Argentina some months ago, and it's been very successful.
Yeah, I think it's delicious.
It is. And the label is interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to get together and have another tasting in order to go over all the details on that guy. But we do have one more wine to taste, and then we'll pop back into the presentation and kind of finish up a couple of things there.
Excellent. So we have the Cabernet Sauvignon.
Absolutely, the Santa Julia Reserva Cabernet Sauvignon. I've got the 2018 vintage, those are all current vintages for the wines. And maybe you give me a little bit of thoughts on the wine while I pour here.
So it's it's a typical Cabernet Franc. It has all the blackberries, the blueberries. It has this Cabernet Franc color. It's complex. You'll get the spicy notes and the complexity of the oak, but again, very subtle. When we use oak, we try to be very in harmony with the fruit. That is something we always try to do when we age in barrels. These are second and third use barrels, so that's also adds to the subtle characteristics of it. What else?
Yeah, I get a little on the Cabernet Sauvignon here. I get darker fruit, and maybe more spice, maybe a little bit more alcohol, maybe a little more tannin. It's a little more amped up, more structure.
Yeah.
More
the fruit is not like the Malbec, that the fruit is there and it's very fresh. Here it's everything more like it's a little bit heavier, I would say.
Yeah, it's a bolder, what I would call a bolder wine in layman's terms. It's a little more intense.
It is, yeah.
They call Cabernet.
We have the typical meat from Mendoza is the goat, and we do it on the fire. So a nice goat on the fire with this wine would be nice match.
Yeah, I love my chiva. I actually come to Argentina. Most people want to eat bife, but I want chiva.
Chivo. And it's the only meat that really comes from Mendoza.
Delicious. One of my favorites. So I always look forward to the young baby goat.
The baby goat, yeah.
And this would match perfectly well with the extra structure and very teeth staining. You can feel the grip, all that intensity of color and the extract. When I taste these wines, because of all the luminosity and the great ripeness to them, all that color, boy, you need to go see the dentist after these things. They're very intense. So let's take a look at a couple more of the things here, and then we'll come back and see if there are some questions and comments. And certainly, if we've missed anything, Julie, you let us know. But let's look at some of the other environmental things that we're doing here. One of the things that you do waste sorting, some recycling here.
Yeah, it's all over the company. You'll see that kind of sorting. And so what we do is some of those waste becomes our fertilizers. So they go to the compost.
Yeah, and I think that brings us right to
the compost.
So here, let's take a look at some natural fertilizers. And this is composting, or is this your worm farm?
This is the worm, the humus.
Yes.
The worm. Yes. The compost is at the back. There's another photo, but you'll see it at the back. It's over there. You can see both in the photo.
So the worms are up front, the worm farms, and then the composting we're coming up to here.
We produce more than 10,000 tons every year of compost and worm, and to use in the vineyards. That's a lot of stuff. It is. Well, you see it there. Yeah, for sure. And you have. I met a gentleman. Yes, that's his name. He's in charge of your worm farm. We called him the worm guy, right? The worm guy and the compost guy. He's a big character. Yeah, super nice guy. Yeah, and he knows a lot. He's very passionate about compost. Everybody needs a hobby or a profession, right? Yeah. Why not? Some solar panels, which we mentioned here. Some solar. We mentioned, yes. And in all our vineyards.
I thought we had a video of some of these squirmy wormies hanging around, but I don't know that people want to necessarily see worms, but they help accelerate the process of converting waste into something usable by the vine.
Yes.
So, very important
They
part.
are part of the family as well.
Even the worms have healthcare. Okay, that's cool. I think those were all the slides on this one, wasn't it?
That is all. Yes, I think we've gone through everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's so complete that I'm having a hard time thinking of what we might have missed. But really, every time I visit and I walk around the corner, I find something that's devoted towards something very, as you said, the small things, but they're everywhere.
Yeah, as I said, we are very focused on. We are winemakers, but making wine is not only making wine. It starts from the vineyard, and as Sebastian said, people is part of the terroir, and then the land. So it's a big, long process, and what we do is we really care about every step of the process, so you can have what you have in the bottle. So that is the spirit of Santa Julia. It's caring for the people, for the environment, and innovation. That's the real spirit.
Yeah, and comes through on the wines. And when I meet you guys and when you come to the market, we love seeing you and hearing the story. And I love the presentation because it really brings what you're doing to life. And I don't know that I've seen something quite as complete as this that puts it all into one nice package. It's an overwhelming amount of information to absorb.
It's all real, and it's hopefully we'll be able to travel again, and I invite everybody to come and visit us, because everything you've seen, everything I talk about, it's real and it's there to be seen. So that's the interesting thing about it.
For sure. And well, my favorite thing, this is fantastic, interesting, and very, very important what we're talking about here. But my favorite thing is what you're in charge of, which is the hospitality, the restaurants, all the tourism, and the reception of people and events that you do.
Well, actually, I like to say that I don't make wine, but my job is to make people drink the wine. So I have the best part. We usually receive in Santa Julia more than 50,000 people a year. So people are able to visit the winery, to to try our wines with our typical Argentinian food. We have bike rides in the vineyards, picnics, tasting courses. So what we try to do is to show our visitors a real Santa Julia experience. So you can ride a bike and through the compost, and then go to the vegetables garden, and then have a bite and drink a wine. So it's fun. It's fun.
It sure is. It sure is. I really enjoy it. You guys are the most hospitable, at least among the most hospitable, friendly, nicest people, friendliest, nicest wines, to the friendliest, nicest to the environment and your workers. So you walk the walk and talk the talk, right?
We are lucky. We do what we like and what we love. So it's easy.
It's great. It's an honor to represent you, your family, your family beyond the Zuccardi last name, everybody that works there, to represent these wines here in the U.S. And I know all these people in the chat room that are chatting around are super glad to represent them too. It's a real honor. So thanks for all the hard work. You guys are among the best.
Thank you. And it's always a pleasure to work with wine sellers. It's been like a long relationship, and it feels like family as well. So it's fun.
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about families here. The wine industry is a long-term, well, it's really a long-term kind of project. The things that we do today will affect your children, well, maybe not my children, but your children, your children's children, and the Sagers kids and everybody that's involved. We're talking about investments today that pay off tomorrow. So that's why
Yes,
we have
sure.
a lot of families that are involved in the wine industry, because it's not a short term, it's not a stock market trade. It's a long-term journey to sustainable growth, hopefully.
It is. Yes, it is.
Well,
It is.
thanks again, Juli. A
Well,
pleasure as
thank
always.
you very much. Bye, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And guys, we'll be back on Saturday. We're going to go back to Germany. We seem to be, Juli, we've been going to Germany a lot every Saturday. So if you're bored, your time around
I'll
4,
join you.
you can join us in Germany. And then on Wednesday, we're going to
Excellent.
go to California. So, but join us for our next in the series. Tonight was great. It was, again, an honor talking to you. Thanks so much for taking the time. Everybody out there, stay safe and drink some Santa Julia Reserva. I'll be enjoying my Malbec with my chicken Cacciatore.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye, everybody. We'll see you soon.